All right. Maybe it's my time to shine. How about that? Come on.
Shine on you.
Save me, Daddy.
All right. Come on. Save me, Daddy. I have been doing some research on big feet, UFOs, and if there is a connection.
All right.
I picked up a book recently called Silent Invasion, the Pennsylvania UFO Bigfoot Casebook. And I perused a little bit of this last night, made some notes. And I don't know if you recall, Jeff, but a few months ago, you actually did a segment on Dogman.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of the cases in here, like a lot of the eyewitness accounts, recall a 7 to 8 foot creature with glowing red eyes, hunched over, very skinny, like pointy ears. And there's a lot of those descriptions in this book, and they attribute it to Bigfoot. It sounds more like a Dogman because there are various cases and incidences where dogs come up missing, dogs are injured, dogs don't do anything, or dogs are petrified when these creatures come around. And
we heard some of that in the Columbiana Howl we played, of the dogs freaking out in the background of the Howl, and I think maybe it's Cuyahoga State Park.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, it says the Bigfoot UFO connection. A lot of these read like Dogman sightings, not necessarily Bigfoot, especially the description. Very skinny, hunched over, pointy ears. I've never heard Bigfoot have pointy ears, like Sasquatch have pointy ears. Dogman, I have. This is a different creature. From everything I can tell, everything in this book, and these are case files from like 1972 to like 75, and like there was a string in the year 1973 in Pennsylvania. There was, like, for the first half of the year, a bunch of UFO sightings. Then, like, the second half, a bunch of Dogman and Bigfoot sightings. And throughout this book, they're trying to create a correlation, if there is one, about sightings of either one and how close they happen to one another.
Oh,
but some of the cases in here are absolutely startling. They're very detailed, very scary. One was of two teenagers that were driving down the street, and this is close to Halloween, a couple days before Halloween, and they're driving down the street in their car, and they're driving to park the car, and they saw someone approaching them dressed up in a costume, a big person. They thought it was one of their friends trying to scare them, so they rolled up to it, like very slowly, like pretending like you're going to hit somebody. You ever do that in your car when you're a teenager? Like, I'm going to hit you, and you drive up close to it.
Oh, I do that all the time on the way to work.
Yeah, you goof around with your car and, maybe hit somebody a little bit, maybe like at 1 or 2 miles an hour. They did that to this thing up against another car. And this thing, once they got up so close to it, the lights were on. They saw this thing was actually 7 to 8 feet tall with pointy ears, red eyes, and then put its hands on the hood of the car. And at that point, they realized this is not our friend in a costume. They pulled back. They drove as quickly as they could to a neighbor's house, which was maybe a block or two away. Outside of their neighbor's house, they were having like a pre-Halloween party. There were some kids out front. They were dressed up, and these two teenagers ran up and said, "Hey, could you get your mom and have them call the police?" As they did this, as they were talking to the kids out front, they saw this creature approaching this house that they were currently at. It freaked everyone out. There were kids and these two teenagers rushing to get inside the house. They couldn't all pile in the door together, so some of them crashed through a window and they got cut. It was a little bit of pandemonium there. Once they got inside the house, there was a foul stench, and this creature eventually just walked off into the woods. But these are kind of stories that are in this book. Things that are just fucking insane.
Can you find any reports of that one online or anything, or any other reports of it? 'Cause that sounds crazy, but you think there'd be some kind of MUFON report or something like that?
I haven't found this one online yet. I haven't tried. I'm just reading through this book and making notes as I go. I've already marked off 3. That was just one of them that I was just remembering off the top of my head. It is bizarre at the level of detail and how many people have witnessed these tall creatures that apparently like to terrorize neighborhoods and steal dogs. Dogs are terrified of this thing. And there are reports, and because this is Pennsylvania, people crack shots at this thing. You know?
Yeah.
They
afraid of wheelchairs, though.
What's that?
I mean, my dog is afraid of, like, if there's somebody throws a wheelchair out and it's next to the trash bin, doesn't look normal, and the dog sees it, the dog will lose its mind over a damn wheelchair.
Well, I like to think that my dog Bogey would fight for me. Maybe he would. Maybe he just.
Well, I remember the balloon.
Yeah, my dog's gets freaked out about balloons.
Wrap his head around a balloon, so maybe Bigfoot wouldn't be so. Who knows?
Yeah, I take it back. My dog's a pussy.
I'm just saying, dogs can freak out. The people's accounts and the police reports, I think I would find interesting on this one.
The police reports are interesting on this one. There's one once I get through some of these UFO connections. There's one about the police having to respond to these calls so frequently during this time that they have to take it serious.
So do you think, could aliens be so sadistic, like the way we smuggle like we kidnap children and bring them to other countries just for the laughs? Are aliens picking up critters on some distant planet in some faraway galaxy, bringing them to other planets? Like, hey, let's dump a bunch of these weird hairy things down here on Earth and let's just see what happens.
When you were a kid, did you ever take lightning bugs and release them in your house? I did.
There you go.
You can do crazy stuff like that. I do have a little couple paragraphs from the Huffington Post about Bigfoot. If you would indulge me for a few minutes here.
Or else?
Because what else are you going to do besides listen to me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This comes from the Huffington Post. The earliest clues, this is in reference to alien or UFOs and Bigfoot. The earliest clues date back to 1888 when a cattleman described an encounter with friendly Indians in the Humboldt County, California. They led him to a cave where he saw a hefty humanoid creature covered in long, shiny black hair with no neck, sitting cross-legged. One Indian told him 3 of these crazy bears had been cast out of a small moon that dropped from the sky and landed. The moon then ascended back into the air. So it's highly likely that these crazy bears were really big foots, and the moon was a spacecraft. Now, fast forward almost 100 years to 1973, and Mrs. Hetfield, she had a 13-year-old son, and they were sleeping in a trailer in Cincinnati, Ohio, on the morning of October 21st. She arose at 2:30 a.m. to quench her thirst and noticed strange lights in the adjoining parking lot. She looked out the window. Her attention was drawn in particular to an inexplicable cone of light shaped like a huge bubble umbrella about 7 feet in diameter. Nearby, she spotted a grayish ape-like creature with large downward angled snout, no neck, and sizable wrist. Slowly, it entered the light. About 5 minutes later, both the ape man and the UFO were gone. But that snout doesn't ring true to what we commonly view or think of with a Sasquatch. A snout reminds me of a Dogman.
Yeah. Yeah, and the tallness and everything. I mean, so the Bigfoot are the tall ones too, but...
I know, Joe, this isn't really a cup of tea, but I'm asking you to indulge creatively. If you have to look at this as like an artist, which you are, a snout is more of like a bear or a dog. We don't really attribute snouts to large apes or Sasquatches.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that if they're saying bear before they're saying like gorilla or monkey, I don't know if they don't know what monkeys look like, but I would imagine they do. And bears are far more like dogs.
So I think I'm going to make a distinction. I'm going to go ahead and just say that the Dogman and Sasquatch or Bigfoot, completely different. We need to separate them. And according to that eyewitness account, UFOs are dealing with Dogman. Now I have one more little post here
picking up dogmen on other planets, and they're saying, what do we do with all these stray dogmen? Let's dump it down with those stupid monkeys who are fighting about racism all the time.
Release the hounds. See what they do. So this next couple paragraphs are entitled "The Fantastical Abilities of Sasquatch, UFOs, Forest People, and the Kane Connection." It's a little longer, so please bear with me. You say okay?
No, I heard an echo.
Echo. Okay.
Whoa.
Presently, many things have been said on how Bigfoot or Sasquatch, have incredible or sometimes seemingly magical powers, which have baffled the minds of who both support the existence of Sasquatch and skeptics. Some people claim that they communicate with the Sasquatch, and that they're able to read their thoughts to gain great knowledge. Others of these storied abilities even include the ability to phase through objects, travel great distances in other dimensions at will, and even work as security to protect UFOs when they land. In some other cases, there are religious overtones when certain religious aspects are included by certain groups, claiming that Bigfoot is from the tribe of Cain, which in the Bible was cursed to roam the earth, punished by the creator of all, and the Bigfoot mission is to destroy the souls of man. I like the little thing about them working Bigfoot security. Like they're bouncers or something.
And are they saying the dogmen are the Bigfoot security, or?
I think they're not making any distinction between Bigfoot and dogmen. They're using, I think, the Bigfoot as an all-encompassing thing. Like,
gotcha.
These guys are basically the bouncers for the UFOs that come down. And it would make sense. You send some people need boots on the ground, don't you?
Yeah, and if they leave them behind because they got to get out of here, it's like, yeah, okay. So it is kind of a big old sick joke by a bunch of intergalactic litterers.
Yeah, you just send a Bigfoot down and give him a pinky ring. Let him know what's going on down there, Big Feet.
Yeah.
We'll be down in about 5, okay? Make sure the area's clear.
Oh, shit, I forgot my goddamn coffee maker's on. I got to go back to the space.
the space.
Hold on, Bigfoot. We'll be down.
You stay right there, all right?
And so as for Bigfoot security, I have another couple paragraphs here I can read. But it gets pretty crazy. But this actually relates directly to the Pennsylvania Bigfoot encounters that I've been reading. In 1952, the U.S. Air Force began an internal investigation of the phenomenon of UFOs, and their possible existence was codenamed Project Blue Book. In the end, the investigation was shut down in 1969, and the official stance of the Air Force has always been that UFOs do not exist. While researching to find information for this article, one very important factor that I found very interesting was a few years after the 1967 event of the Pennsylvania Grimm film, the internationally known UFO investigator Stan Gordon, recognized as an authority on the subject of the UFO and Bigfoot phenomenon, gained prominence from his first-hand investigation into a well-known, well-remembered 1973 Bigfoot UFO series of sightings and encounters which occurred in Pennsylvania. This outbreak supposedly of Bigfoot, Big Feet, showing himself with UFOs, brought worldwide attention to the subject and was a major news story in the media for several weeks. It seemed that this was the first time national and international public heard of the Bigfoot UFO connection. This is possibly could be responsible for the creation of mainstream media belief that Bigfoot come from different planets and was an extraterrestrial in nature, which later became part of the subculture of ufology. Let's move on a little bit. In the story that I recently listened to, a man states in his encounter with a UFO, several Bigfoot were posted outside and looked like they were watching the spaceship like security guards. So Literally, they're bouncers for UFOs.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, all the reports from aliens that we've heard they're small. They have big heads and they don't look physically powerful. Like I could take one in a fight, like physically, maybe not mentally, but physically, I could take one. Couldn't take a Bigfoot though. Maybe they're actually there to. If someone gets out of line, punch him in the head with a pinky ring. That's what you got to do.
Banging broads, walking multiple planets.
In 1976, several years after the Air Force shuts down Project Blue Book, the cult series The $6 Million Man brought the subject of Bigfoot, UFOs, and aliens to an international audience once again. In the storyline, two geologist friends of Steve Austin disappear in California while placing earthquake sensors in the woods. A giant footprint is found nearby, leading to speculation of the involvement of a Sasquatch, at the time played by Andre the Giant.
Nice.
The following year, in 1977, another sequel of this installment of the television series brought back the alien Bigfoot and made those particular episodes cult classics of the 70 television miniseries era.
Wow. So
you could have Kevin James play a Bigfoot UFO cop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can see the intertwining, especially with Stan Gordon's Pennsylvania cases. That created a connection between Bigfoot, which actually, from what we know, we could probably say it's more likely dogmen that are working with aliens as opposed to Bigfoot. Dogmen working with aliens, the connection is made, that gets propagated through pop culture. The $6 Million Man, which if anybody hasn't watched it, please go up on YouTube and watch the episodes. It is some hilariously nostalgic, awesome shit. And so through pop culture, people make that connection and gets like in your head. And if that question ever gets out there, what if Bigfoot were really aliens? That's how it starts. Some real cases, and then it goes to pop culture. Then it goes back to some real additional cases, and people continue to experience, Bigfoot sightings or Dogman and plenty of UFO sightings around the world.
Just an asterisk there. Real cases. Real maybe.
It's hard. It's hard to determine. Like with all this stuff, like how do you know when to believe what is an actual case and what is not? It's hard. These are some pretty big books. I guess one could just generate this stuff and make the shit up if you wanted to.
I would say that if people are reporting the same thing in multiple places and all that, I think there's some interesting. There's something interesting that happens when people in multiple places around the world report that aliens have these eyes and blah 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 blah. But then, I try to think of a time where, when have I never not seen aliens? I feel like I've always kind of seen aliens in the pop culture. And if everyone's going to describe an alien, they're probably going to describe something close to the Greys or something like that. And so
I think this is fed into our heads at this point. That's what we expect to see.
And how much of that is real or not? And so if people, and I've brought this up on the show before, when you talk about the mounds, the burial mounds, and Jim Vieira and all his research, how he sounds like the biggest kook in the world because he's talking about, look, these people have like maps to Atlantis and like all this stuff goes back super far, and the Smithsonian is burying all this evidence of these giant, hairy men that were 7 foot plus tall and all this. So when you hear about stuff like that, then you're like, what? Maybe. So I just want the pictures. I just want the pictures
too.
I just want to these damn things and see how,
And Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, this is for you. I want you to listen to this and let me know what you think of. Okay, this is straight out of the book. I was researching last night. This is what I do, people. I research for you. And so we can have these important and very fun topics to talk about. I found these two paragraphs, which I found to be very compelling, considering what we now know and what we've talked about. This is about two guys going on a hike down the railroad tracks. It was during one evening in July or August when two gentlemen were walking by the railroad tracks near Grapeville, and they heard a sound in the brushes crackling in the woods. Suddenly, they observed a dark humanoid shape with red glowing eyes running ahead of them. To see the strange apparition was odd enough, but they also reluctantly described other unusual activity that occurred during this encounter. It seemed that at one point, The form that was on one side of them suddenly seemed to vanish, then quickly appeared on the opposite side. While they were observing the activity, no sound or movement was detected. The location of the incident is near Grapeville. It is only a short distance down the road from another incident place. It is in this general rural area where a number of Bigfoot encounters were occurring. In the weeks to follow, we would hear about accounts from witnesses who not only encountered strange beasts, but also experienced other anomalies. What does that remind you of a little bit, Jeff?
I mean, train tracks makes me think of Goat Man, but it kind of reminds me, if you just see the eyes, like the Predator.
Let's say Predator, and how this thing moved from kind of disappeared on one side to the other, and how there was no other sounds around. Sounded like that missing 401 case with the distortion photograph. The account from the hunter where they said the woods fell silent. There was a strange anomaly in front of me that I could not see. And here, they actually see a goddamn creature almost phase in and out of material. And these guys didn't get scared. It's like, whoa, they're like, what is all this shit? What's going on here?
God damn it. Not again.
Yeah.
What is all this stuff?
Exactly.
It's a bad batch of turtles meth.
But this is, when it comes to missing in 411, when it comes to Bigfoot, Dogman, and UFOs, to me, it's all connected. It's just part of there's a very big picture, and we're not seeing it. And I know David Paulides has talked about this, how there is a big picture, and how people in different schools of thought, whether it's Bigfoot research or ufology, they all have their own opinion about what goes on with missing 411. A lot of people say, oh, it's got to be alien abduction. Other people say, oh, it has to be Bigfoot. Everyone has their own theories, and it all kind of fits when you read things like that, how something can phase in and out of the visible light spectrum, and then what we read a few episodes ago with the hunter who was in a tree stand when the forest around her fell silent and she saw visual distortion in front of her and took a picture with her BlackBerry. All very bizarre shit. As a skeptic, Joe, what do you think about this?
I really love the idea. I mean, of course, I love extraterrestrial life. I want to believe that therest something bigger to focus on than the bullshit we preoccupy ourselves with down here. I just find first-hand accounts are better, second-hand accounts are worse, third, and as it goes, even worse and worse and worse. And then when you realize that, like, remember those Time magazine commercials or whatever, People or whatever it was, where it's like a mother sensed her son was experiencing pain.
Time magazine mysteries, order now.
Yeah, do you remember this one?
Yeah.
I mean, this
Time
shape
magazine mysteries.
And then it made me want to believe in ghosts, and then I started believing ghosts. I don't mean to equate the two. It's just that, I mean, I feel like if there are these accounts, like, that's interesting. But why in the world how come it's only like fringe people who are in on this stuff? I mean, you get these people who turn out to be hoaxers who have like put a bunch of animal parts in a bucket and said, "Oh, we found Bigfoot remnants," and they all get figured out. Like, how is it that we've not been able to come across any of these things dead or alive, or some hunter hasn't got it, or hasn't gotten chopped up in some tree butchering machine, or drowned out by some fire bucket dropping water all over some woods on fire or something? Like, I would feel it. I want to see the proof, but then I get the same thing where it's like, well, if Dick Cheney was blowing up the World Trade Center, you're not going to see that picture either.
I actually do. In this book, there's reports of Bigfoot shit, and I won't read that article, but I will play this for Joe.
No.
Chicago. A man is about to get on a routine flight. Suddenly he pauses. He doesn't know why, but he's got to walk away. An hour later, the plane goes down in flames. It's dismissed as chance. Britain. A woman has a sudden image of a black mountain that's moving, with children trapped underneath it. 2 hours later, a Welsh schoolhouse is buried in an avalanche of coal slag. It's dismissed as coincidence. northern Texas. An unidentified flying object is reported by at least a dozen people. Although there were no storms in the area, it's dismissed as lightning. Now, Time Lifeboats announces an important new library, Mysteries of the Unknown.
Mysteries of the
Series that
Unknown.
explores the most
I love it.
It's great.
our time.
Wish Time Life would just keep doing this shit.
Yeah.
It's fantastic stuff.
I remember those things like it was yesterday from when I was a kid, and they had me. I was, that's why I was an X-Files fan.
Mysteries of the Unknown.
Yeah, sell another few books. Time.
Absolutely. I think this is a great time to take a break, and then we can come back. Jeff, do you have anything?
Yeah, after the break, I got something.
Awesome. I'm going to go pee-pee, and I will be back post-haste.
Hey, golf.
I need to get some water.